questions. You can chat. You'll see those options on your screen, and we will attempt to answer as many questions as possible. The whole point of this webinar is to hear from you and be able to address the questions you have. So just getting started, welcome everyone. Many of you are arriving just now. We are going to be starting now. We have one beautiful legal disclaimer screen that you'll see here on the screen. This is to explain that we may give you some forward-looking statements, which is available to all of you to hear. However, uh, from a legal perspective, we want to make sure that we disclaim a lot of that information. So you can read it here on your screen. I'll give you a second to see it. We actually use this similar disclaimer when some of our customers will add some projections on their offering page. Okay, so here's the agenda for today. I want to talk a little bit about our company, the mission we have, our vision, our values. We always start this way because we think it's important that you, the shareholders, understand how we as a company behave. And that's going to give you a good sense of what in the future we'll be doing. We're going to talk about the broker dealer that we recently registered as a broker dealer, and then our long-term plan, and then finally, most importantly, answer your questions. Okay. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. This has been our mission since the beginning. It will continue to be our mission. Our 10-year vision is to help 10,000 companies raise $10 billion in the next 10 years. This is a very, I would call it bold mission and vision. It's certainly not easy to achieve. It is what we're trying to achieve. It doesn't mean we'll get there, but it guides us as to how big of a vision we need to build in the next few years. So every year we're going to look at that 10-year vision and see how well we're doing against it. The last screen on Start Engine is our values. We have 6 values, and I'll go through it briefly. Own the mission. I just described the mission, which is to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. Very important for everyone who works at Start Engine or who is associated with us, that they understand that our mission is to help entrepreneurs. Make no excuses. We want to strive to always deliver on what we promise. And we ask the people who work at Start Engine to feel the same way. Be a team player. We, as a team, we're about close to 30 people. As a team, we want everyone to participate and help each other. And we feel that that's critical for the company to succeed. And so being a team player is critical in our company. Stay curious. That's basically learning. We're having several of our team members right now who are passing some of the FINRA exams. These are exams that are financial exams required for some of the positions of the company. And that gives them a great opportunity to learn. And we constantly learn about our business, and we want people to follow that principle. Do the right thing. Being a financial firm, doing the right thing, everybody would argue, is essential. We live by it. Doing the right thing doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. Yes, we will make mistakes, absolutely. But we feel that we're going to do the right thing, and that everyone who works at Start Engine has that belief that we follow the rules, everything by the book, and that we always keep the best interest of our customers and our investors in mind. Care about others. That's the last value. And that means not just people in our company, but caring about our investors, caring about our companies, caring about our community. Care about others is a fundamental value as well that we embody here. All right, now that I've gone through this, let's talk about some of the business aspects. So we recently announced that we became a broker. Now, what does a really broker dealer? There are about 3,000 broker dealers in this country. A broker dealer really is a company that has registered with the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, and a member of a group called FINRA, which is a financial regulator that is in charge of making sure that companies like ourselves are following all the rules. They supervise us. So being a broker dealer is very important. And there are many reasons. One of them is that as a broker dealer, we can help our customers structure their offerings. And that's mostly for Regulation A+, which is the second regulation we use. So we have two regulations we use at Start Engine. There's Regulation Crowdfunding, which allows
to raise up to $1
$1 million.
But
We also have Regulation A+, which has a $15 million limit. So it's a lot larger and a lot bigger companies are going to be using this regulation. And we're seeing a lot of interest on that as well. We were able to do the first Regulation A+ ever in the United States called EDO Motors, but we were not a broker dealer at that time. We were a marketing platform. So we were not able to help structure the deal. We couldn't get commissions. And so in terms of revenue, being a broker dealer is actually very attractive because we can earn commissions on the transactions. We can also help structure the deal. We can help market the offering in every state in the country. Right now, we're registered in 46 states. We have four more. These are going to be that's going to happen in any week or so, 2 weeks or whatever we get the go ahead for the last four states, and that is really important. And then the other thing we can do is we can help market the offering across many channels. So for us, for Start Engine, being a broker dealer is actually a very good thing. We also have another reason for being a broker dealer. The second reason was we announced a long time ago that we were interested in launching Secondary, which is a trading platform. And why? Because a lot of our investors are purchasing shares in companies using Regulation A plus or Regulation Crowdfunding. And then what are they supposed to do with those shares? They hold them. But wouldn't it be amazing if they had an opportunity to trade? Because maybe they need some liquidity, or maybe because they feel the return they're able to achieve by selling it is sufficient for their goals. But there are many reasons for people to want to sell shares. We believe that a great reason to invest in the company is when you have an opportunity to also sell. You see that in the stock market with the NASDAQ, with the New York Stock Exchange. There are about 4,700 national market securities, and they trade all the time in huge numbers. And you have a whole industry around them, the broker dealers, the hedge funds, the mutual funds. All these groups are very interested in learning about analyzing these shares. We feel the same way with Start Engine. We're building Secondary, and if and when it's approved, we will launch it. Now, recently, the SEC has posted on their website that the Start Engine Secondary is approved. However, that doesn't mean we can launch it because we need FINRA to approve it. And that is the next step for us. And we're working very hard to seek that approval. So until it's approved, there's nothing we can do about it. So for us, this is a big, big moment. And we will have another webinar to talk about Secondary in more detail. So in terms of broker dealer, as I mentioned, doing the transactions, structuring the transactions is very critical. So recently, we launched our first company as a broker dealer called Knightscope. Knightscope is a robot, it's a surveillance robot that is used by companies to survey their parking lots, their companies, headquarters, and it's a company that we launched recently, and you can see that on our website. And it's a broker dealer deal, our first. And that means that when people purchase shares in Knightscope, we will get a commission. Same as we get a commission when people are purchasing shares with regulation crowdfunding, which are a lot of the other offerings on our page. Okay. So who are we going to target? So very simple. A lot of companies are choosing to use Regulation A plus to raise money. They could be a privately held company or publicly traded company on the over-the-counter market, for example. And as soon as they file their Regulation A plus, we contact them to say, hey, here's Start Engine, here's who we are, and we believe we can help. You're looking to raise capital. We have investors, we have marketing teams, we have a platform that is one of the best on the market, and we would like to help you. So we've had dozens of conversations, and we signed many deals so far, and you will see in the weeks to come more and more companies using Regulation A Plus launch on Start Engine. That is basically what we've been doing. So in terms of a short update on where we are, as you know, we published those numbers on our website. We have basically so far last year we did 4.6 million in revenue. It was quite a large growth over the previous year. We've raised over $100 million for companies who through our platform. That it was a nice milestone. We were able to announce that recently, and we were the first platform to make that announcement. We have over 200,000 users. Many of them are investors, and some of them are investors in Start Engine as well. We have over 50,000 users who have invested in one or more deals. We have many repeat investors who constantly look at our website to make more investments. And we have 22% of our users who return to invest more than once. So that number is actually growing. So we feel that we're in the right direction to build a community of investors who are eager, interested in making investments. So as I mentioned, what is our future? So we have two things that we're pitching right now. Start Engine Secondary, I talked about it. That is, I think, going to be a huge innovation in the marketplace. We're basically recreating what you see in the public marketplaces like the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, but it's a smaller way. Privately held companies typically don't trade. And with Start Engine Secondary, because those shares were issued under Regulation A plus and Regulation crowdfunding, these shares are tradable. And as long as we seek the right exemption from the blue sky laws, which are laws, which are rules from every state, these rules dictate how broker-dealers like ourselves allow companies investors to sell their shares and companies to issue shares. So blue sky laws are laws in every state, and so we are seeking exemptions on those rules that exist and are available for us. And so when we launch Start Engine Secondary, you'll see a whole new interest from a larger group of investors out there to want to invest because of the ability to have liquidity. And then always be raising. That is a concept we introduced a few months ago. We talk to our companies and say, look, you need capital. The idea of getting capital one time and then stopping is not really what companies should be doing. What they should do is use regulation crowdfunding to raise up to $1 million. And as soon as that's completed, let's say they got close to $1 million, they should use Regulation A plus to raise up to 50 million. But even if they raise only, let's say, another 3 or 4 million, keep going, raise more, don't stop. The idea that a company would not be on our page is not what we want. We want the companies to always be on our page, always be offering shares to investors, and that helps the company grow. Why? Because the capital they receive will help them hire people, will help them build more inventory, do more marketing, and grow the business. So always be raising is a very important concept. All right. So at this point, most important part of the meeting today is to hear from you and your questions. So I'm going to look at my screen, which is just on my left, and see what questions we have. Okay, start engine, primary and secondary are game changers in the continued advancement. It will be great to hear about how you plan to create the order in a Regulation A plus Tier 2 offering. Well, that's interesting. The order book. So I suppose this investor is asking, how do you get enough people who are going to place orders? I suppose these are the investors who are buying shares as opposed to those who are offering shares. So we have two sides to secondary. You have the people who are what we're calling, they're placing ask, which means they say, look, I'll sell my shares for $10 a share. And the bid, the people who are saying, look, I'll pay $8 a share. Obviously, to the extent that someone wants to pay 8 and someone wants to sell at 10, there's no trade. The minute the an investor says, look, I'll place a bid for $10.50, here you have a match. And that's what the order book is about. The order book is all about bringing those asks and those bids together into a book and making the match. So what is our plan for that? Well, we still have a lot of work in that planning. Our marketing group is going to put together a marketing plan on how to launch secondary, get a lot of press out there. I think in the end of the day, it's going to have to come from a community of people like yourselves who are going to post on YouTube, who are going to tweet, who are going to use the social media to talk about their investments with this shared purchase on Start Engine. We'll have these companies or these people, individuals, unbeknown to us, who are going to come out of nowhere and become analysts. We're going to start analyzing these trades, analyzing these shares, and making basically recommendations, which is great. They're outside of our firm. We're not compensating them. They are free to talk about uh, our company. They're free to talk about the trades and the analysis of the companies who are on our platform. So we look forward to all this. As we are ready to launch secondary, we will make a lot of announcements, and we'll also talk about our marketing plan in more detail. But unfortunately, I can't do that right now. Okay, the next question. Um, will as a start engine shareholder begin to receive revenue from the upcoming brokerage and from Knightscope? Now, shareholder asks if they're going to be receiving revenue. I suppose they mean dividends. The dividend is basically a payment to shareholders voted by the board of directors. We are not profitable at this moment as a company, and we have no plans to pay dividends. At the time when the company becomes profitable, with the board's decision, it's very possible that we could pay dividends, and that obviously is a possibility. But until then, none of this is going to happen. Now, another possibility for investors is in the case that no dividends are being paid, if and when we put Start Engine on secondary on our own platform, and there's an ability to get liquidity, that shareholder could sell a few shares and receive money for it. So that, I hope, answers the question. Let me pick another one. When do you expect to launch the secondary market feature? Well, again, we are not controlling the date as to when secondary launches. First, we need to get the approval from FINRA. Secondly, we need to finish our technology and get it tested and verified. And most importantly, we need to get customers who are willing to put their company's shareholders on our platform. So we need to accomplish this. And once that happens, we launch. I will like to say that we hope it could happen by the end of the year, but there's no guarantee on that. It could be delayed. So best is to keep in touch and see when you hear our announcement, and we will keep you informed. Next question. Since you're paving the way for secondary, does that now give opportunity for other crowdfunding sites the ability to do the same? Well, absolutely. We are a free enterprise country. Our competitors can do the same as we are. They can build a broker dealer like we did. They can build a secondary marketplace like we're planning to do. They can do all the same things. There are no secrets, there are no patents that prevent anyone from participating. However, there is a lot of delay, as you can see. It took us nearly 2 years to get to where we were becoming a broker dealer, and now even getting our alternative trading system secondary approved by the SEC. But it takes more than that, more than time. You need dedication of your team. You need capital. You need to spend costs, legal costs. And you have to also have the right, I would say, business plan that the regulators believe that you will succeed with. So it really is more than just a simple, I want to do it. The barriers to entry in our field are pretty high. Not any website can just say, oh, I'm going to do the same thing as Start Engine. But more importantly than that is we have a team at Start Engine. And the Start Engine team is really our competitive advantage. I went through our values, our vision, our mission. All of those things together is what makes Start Engine. We have an advantage of being in business for close to 4 years, operating Start Engine's website. That expertise, all of the investments we've made over the years, is a great advantage that we have. So yeah, in terms of competition, there will be competition. We hope there is competition. We cannot be just the only player in the marketplace, but I can assure you that we plan on hopefully leading the market. Okay, next question. What about the 10% shares we're supposed to receive when purchasing another company on Start Engine? Okay, so we, as a shareholder in Start Engine, and if you've invested a minimum of $1,000, there's a perk, and it's a great perk. And a perk is basically that if you invest in a regulation crowdfunding, those are those companies that raise up to $1 million. If you invest in them, you get a bonus of 10% more shares or securities when you make the investment. That is in place, and you'll see that with the companies. They will mention it, and when you make the investment, you'll see that also on your invest screen. So we believe that's a great perk. We hope that you take advantage of it. What kind of commissions does secondary plan to charge per trade? So in terms of secondary, yes, we will charge the seller a commission. So you have a seller in a trade and a buyer. The buyer will not pay any commission at this moment. The seller will pay a commission. Now, keep in mind, we can try this and adapt it and see if it works well. We believe it's the right model. We will announce what our commissions are and how they're going to work. We believe that the commissions are important to us because that's how we're going to be able to fund the company and become profitable and operate the business. And why the seller pays a commission? Because we think that a seller is highly motivated to get liquidity. If they can calculate in their pricing the commission, then they will make it much easier for a buyer to purchase it because there's not that friction of a commission. Okay, next question. Can you share an updated financial projection? So we're going to announce our first 6 months of the year by the end of this September. That's when we file our financials, and we will set up a webinar like this one to discuss them. I cannot talk about our financials right now. One reason is we are preparing them. We're making sure that they are following all of the general accounting rules, but we also have to make sure that everybody gets the same information at the same time. So you'll receive an email once we have filed our semi-annual report. What will drive Start Engine to profitability? That's a great question. So profitability is our plan. We believe that being profitable is important for our health and our growth. So what is our plan? Well, one, with the broker-dealer, we're going to launch a lot more companies, and those companies are going to raise more capital than the small regulation crowdfunding, so we can earn more commissions. Secondly, when we launch secondary, the commissions we get from the sellers is going to be significant, we believe, because of the buildup of traffic that will give us an additional revenue source without spending a tremendous amount of money, more than we've spent already. So we think that we've already made a lot of the investment that is necessary to have secondary available. It's not completed, but we believe that a lot of the costs are already invested in. So once we launch secondary, a lot of the revenue is going to allow us to grow revenue, and not necessarily all the expenses will grow at the same time, and then we'll be able to reach profitability. We don't have a projection as to when it happens. Is it next year? Is it the following year? I cannot say, but that is our goal. How does StartEngine compete against other investment vehicle sites, SeedInvest and SharePost? All right. So for those who may not know, SeedInvest is a competitor of ours. They are also a crowdfunding platform. They have a broker dealer like we do. How do we compete with them? Well, it's a free market. Our customers talk to SeedInvest. Our customers talk to StartEngine, and at the end of the day, they have to make a decision as to who they pick. We hope they will pick us. And we compete by offering, we believe, the best platform, the best team around the platform, a lot of the innovations, but more importantly than that, we think that having secondary available will be a huge reason for companies to go to us. Why? Because simply they can go and say to their prospective investors, hey, look, invest in my company. And here's when I'm going to be on the StartEngine secondary. So you'll have a liquidity event. I think that's probably one of the most important reasons for investors who are interested in early stage investing is to have some form of liquidity in a reasonable period of time. So I believe that will help us a lot. And SharePost is a great company. What they started with is they were able to find employees of Facebook, for example, who wanted to exercise their options, may not have the money to do it, and wanted to sell those shares once they exercise the options. So they would post them on their SharePost platform. And it's also a trading platform. However, it's only for accredited investors. These are wealthy people who already have a lot of assets, and they're able legally to purchase those shares, but not consumers. And frankly, StartEngine's mission, StartEngine's values, and how we operate, we've always wanted to include the general public in investing in companies. The idea that it's only reserved, again, just for the very few, less than 5% of the country, is just too limiting. And we just don't believe that's what it's all about. We think that the general public should have the ability to make an investment. And that's why when the Jobs Act was voted in April 2012 and finally implemented starting in towards the middle of 2015 and certainly middle of 2016, that is a revolution in itself. We're taking advantage of this new regulation, and we think it's going to be very significant. If we are to receive the 10% bonus shares, how long does it take to receive the shares? Well, it turns out the bonus shares, you will receive them at the same time as you receive the shares or the securities when you purchase them. So keep in mind that once you place an order, let's say you use a credit card, you say I invest, it doesn't mean the shares are in your possession at that moment, instantly. It turns out there's an escrow that we have put together, and the company has to meet the minimum terms of the escrow before they can disperse. The minute they disperse your investment, those shares are going to be available to you, including the bonus shares. What would prevent an existing startup focused investment bank from building an online portal? All right. Well, what prevents any company from building an online portal? It could be Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, right? Well, nothing prevents them except for ambition, drive, will, creativity, ingenuity, team. We recently seen a broker dealer who wants to get into the Regulation A+ space. And that broker dealer was really excited about it, except that they didn't understand the business. They were acting as a traditional broker dealer. Well, guess what? In order to build a portal effectively, you need to be really what I would call a modern financial firm. A modern financial firm has really that online pedigree, this team that all understand how the online version of investing and eventually one day trading works. The Jobs Act is completely new. So we believe that even though anyone can start a portal, even an investment banker company can do it, another broker dealer, we believe that without the right team, without the right ingredients, it's just very, very hard. Okay, any plans to incorporate other types of uh, standard market limit options, etc.? Well, that's a great question. So that's for secondary. So typically, a trading marketplace will allow you to do more than just say, I want to buy shares. You can say, I want to buy shares with a limit, a price. Listen, I'll pay $10, no more than $10. So if it's eight, I'll pay eight, but this is my limit. And when you sell, you can also put a limit as to what is the minimum price you want to sell. That's classic in the trading, and we'll offer all of that. However, options, puts, calls, derivatives, we don't plan to offer it right now. Well, there are many reasons for that. First of all, in order to have puts, options, and calls, and all of these derivatives, you're not buying shares. You're actually buying synthetic products. These are derivatives. We're only offering you to purchase shares or sell shares. That typically works in large financial marketplaces. And one thing that we're not offering is the ability to short the shares. What does that mean? That means that you can borrow the shares, sell them on the marketplace, hope that the shares go down in price, and then sell and then basically return them and get the profit. Return whoever lent you the shares. And there are a lot of controversies around short selling in the large marketplaces. Right now, that is not being offered. Who knows where the future takes us? So our secondary is going to be allowing people to offer shares for sale and purchase shares. That is all we're going to be offering. Next question. What are the net capital requirements now for Start Engine Primary LLC, balance sheet, audited financials? And what do you expect net capital to grow to? When capital reaches milestones 5 million, 25 million, or even 50 million in net capital, are there more opportunities as you achieve certain other capital requirements as a broker dealer? Well, the best way to explain what net capital rule is that FINRA requires that the company, and that will be Start Engine Primary LLC, which is the broker dealer, has a minimum net capital, which means take all of the liabilities and the assets and what's left. And it's more complicated than that because it has to do with how you account for capital in a broker dealer. But let's make a simplistic assumption. Let's say you have $500,000 of debt and you have $1 million of assets, typical of cash. I'm not talking about illiquid assets, liquid assets. So you have $500,000 of net capital. Well, there's a minimum requirement in our case because we're a $100,000 broker dealer. That's what we are, of $120,000. And we obviously meet the net capital requirements, obviously, because we wouldn't be in business. FINRA would not allow a company to operate without having the right net capital, and there are rules on how you deal with that. And we understand those rules. Now, what happens when we get to 5 million, 25 million? Well, as our net capital grows, we have new things we can ask for. We can go to FINRA and say, hey, we want to be able to hold the companies, our investors' shares in accounts. We want to hold cash. We want to be able to lend money to our customers like margin accounts. All of this is possible in the future. We don't have that ability right now, and we're not seeking that ability right now. However, as our company grows, we will be seeking new things from our regulators, exciting things, and to call it product development. Even though it's not R&D, it is the ability to do more things with our customers. Okay, Will the larger funding deals you mentioned tend to drive out the smaller crowdfunding type deals? Well, we don't believe that is the case. We believe that when you have a large deal, it actually can help the small deals. Why? Because a large deal can drive many more shareholders to the deal. And the marketing expenditures for a large deal are much higher than a small deal. Now, those investors who come into Start Engine become part of the Start Engine community, and then they can see all the new deals we have. And if they understand that a small deal, regulation crowdfunding, $1 million deal, can then move to a larger deal, regulation A, and then move to the Start Engine secondary, that progression, as you invest early, the share price typically should be less than if you invest later. And if that's the case, then there's a more risk on the early side, however, a potential higher return. So we believe that they work together very nicely. All right, next question. Are Start Engine investors who invest in Start Engine at separate times, which total to $1,000, still eligible for the 10% bonus shares? All right, so the bonus share, the way it works is you invest $1,000 in Start Engine, you become a shareholder, and you get bonus shares for 1 year. After 1 year, if you continue to invest in Start Engine as a shareholder, then you get more than 1 year, another year. And as you keep those investing in Start Engine, purchasing shares in Start Engine, that perk will continue to be available to you. So it's a 1 year perk. So I suppose that's what the question was about. Will you be buying? Will you allow buying and selling ETFs as a broker dealer? ETF is an exchange traded fund. Wow, an ETF. These are very popular ETFs. Main reason is because instead of investing in one stock, when you invest in an ETF, you're getting a basket of stocks. So it's a very attractive instrument used by a lot of investors. We don't have a plan to do anything with ETFs right now, but it's possible that in the future we build our own ETF that represents a basket of shares we've issued. But in order to do that, it's extremely complicated, very costly, and frankly, it's not something we have in our plans. It's possible that our competitors will address it earlier than we do. Keep in mind, in order to be an ETF, this is a public traded fund, and again, a lot of rules around them. And as we navigate all those rules, what we do is we want to focus on raising capital for companies and helping those investors have liquidity. That's really what we're trying to do right now. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to read from this phone, and actually I have to use my glasses. So, okay. So, what assets will be trading on the broker dealer? Will digital assets be traded? Can you be specific about which ones? Yes. So, okay. So the question really is what assets? So obviously we're going to be trading shares. That we said we're going to be trading shares, and shares could be securities. That could be mostly common shares. It's possible we also trade preferred shares, which are shares that have special requirements around them. But mostly, I think it was common. Now, digital securities is what people call cryptocurrencies. They're on the blockchain. At this moment, no, we don't have that approval. And will we seek the approval? Perhaps we will seek the approval. We would like to engage in digital securities. We believe that's a big opportunity in the future, but at the moment, no. And as you know, the regulators need to, I would say, build the rules that are essential to permitting companies like ourselves, who are broker dealers, to trade in digital securities. I've written a lot about this, by the way. So if you go to howardmarks.com, you'll see on my blog a lot of articles around that. What are the criteria to be on the platform? So I suppose this is about the secondary marketplace. So in the secondary marketplace, we have not announced what the criteria are, but we will as soon as we're ready. Will Start Engine be risking capital to facilitate trades? Okay, that's a great question. So Start Engine is not permitted to risk any capital for trades. And what would mean risky capital? It means we would buy shares ourselves, hold them in inventory, and offer them to buyers down the road. That's an interesting concept. A lot of broker dealers have the ability to do that. We don't have that ability at this point, so we're not going to be offering it. Will you be implementing a digital ledger technology on either Start Engine primary or secondary? Well, digital ledger technology, so that's also called blockchain. I would say this: we would love to do it. How's that? We built something called ERC 1450, which is a blockchain technology that we believe is the answer for this question. However, we haven't really deployed it commercially yet. We've done some testing on it. I think the answer is really simple. I think the SEC, Security Exchange Commission, and FINRA are working really hard to figure out how to do it or how to allow companies to do it. We've had lots of conversations about it, and we believe that it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen right now. I think it's going to happen in the future. I think it's been really exciting, frankly, and we want to be part of it. So we're not giving up on it. If your impression is, oh, Start Engine was very loud and very excited about digital securities and blockchain technology and digital ledgers, and then we just gave up. No, we didn't give up. But we're a company that wants to follow the rules. So if we have to follow the rules and the rules will not allow us to use those technologies as a broker dealer right now, well, guess what? We're going to wait. We're just not going to do the wrong thing and start trading digital securities without authorization. That would be really bad, frankly, and that's not our goal. So let me pick the next question. Okay, if you're trading digital assets, how will you determine if someone is an accredited investor if that asset is within the 1-year lockup period? Can you explain how that would work in terms of ensuring trading only among accredited investors? Well, that question has a lot of questions in that same question, but I'll try to address it. Trading digital assets. I just addressed trading digital assets. We can't do it. If and when we can, we will do it. Now, how do you know who owns the asset? That's part of what it needs to be figured out. We think with ERC 1450, we figured it out, that we know how to use digital ledgers and the ability to be a transfer agent at the same time. But this is not yet available. And there's a lot of reasons why it's not available. But as I mentioned, we are always thinking about it, always talking to regulators about it, but we're not doing anything about it. And then the idea of the accredited investors, again, keep in mind that Start Engine is not about accredited investors. We could, if we wanted to, and we could be like other companies who focus only on accredited investors, but that's not who we are. So I think it's important when you build a business to know who you are and what you're trying to achieve. And we are looking for the general public. So the idea that an accredited investor trades only with an accredited investor, that's not something that we're really exploiting and that interested in. All right, the next question. Where would one find information on Reg D, Reg S, Reg A that wasn't done through Start Engine, for example, to find out total size distribution, etc., but is trading on your platform? Will Start Engine provide that information? Well, guess what? When you use any of those regulations, D, S, A, and it was not done through Start Engine. And can Start Engine provide you with that information? Well, We provide some information. We have the Start Engine Index for regulation crowdfunding, where we index the entire marketplace. We look at what's going on when we provide that on our blog. So you're welcome to read it. But in terms of providing information from other offerings on other platforms, that is not something we have done I would say, for Regulation A or Regulation S or Regulation D. That's not something we've done. I don't see us planning to do it right now. What we hope is that the people outside of Start Engine will do it. Now, if we bring a company into Start Engine to raise capital for them, obviously all of their documents that they're going to use to describe their offering will give you the information you need. And we have our offering page, and then we have a link to the offering circular. And that circular has all that information as well. All right. Will you be working with Securitize? All right, Securitize. Yeah, I know Securitize. It's a company that has a lot of ambition in the digital securities, cryptocurrency marketplace. They've built a lot of technology. They've made announcements recently. They just became, actually, what I heard just recently, they announced that they became a transfer agent as well. Would love to work with them. So if they're hearing us through this webinar and they want to talk to us, we'd love to talk to them and work with them to the extent that we can, based on the rules that we're allowed to work with. Will the World Bank Bond-I trade on the platform? My expectation is initially only companies who work with Start Engine are going to be trading on Start Engine. It's possible that companies who've issued shares outside of Start Engine can come into secondary under certain circumstances. We could make that available. We can. We have to see. So the World Bank Bond-I trade, probably not anywhere in the near future. Next question, will trading be 24/7? That's a great question. We haven't announced what the trading hours are going to be. We will. We haven't announced if the trading hours are going to be based on, weekdays. Are the trading hours going to be based for each company? All of that is going to be available once we launch. Okay, so I think we've completed what we tried to achieve today. I've answered most of the questions I could. I want to thank you for participating in our webinar. Stay in touch with us. We love hearing from you. And then the next one will hopefully be, the next webinar is when we have either a very big announcement to make to all of you, or the webinar could be also on our next financials that we will file. And again, thank you everyone for being shareholders in Start Engine, for participating in the community. One ask I have is tell your friends about us. Tell them about being a shareholder at Start Engine. Tell them about being investors in early startups. Together, as we build the community, we can all succeed. Thank you very much.